that same year on August 6, 2002, you were in your hometown of Davenport, Iowa, and you get arrested.
Yes, I do.
Now, I had to read over this a couple of times to make sure that I actually got the story right. They say you were arrested when you paid an undercover agent $200
That was wrong.
kilo of cocaine.
It was no undercover agent. It was a guy, his name is Mark Lou. I mean, hell, the whole world knows. I mean, my case is over with, and he ratted on me or whatever. What happened, I guess the feds had coerced him to, I guess they said they've been trying to get me anyway. I mean, they alleged they had a 10-year drug conspiracy on me or whatever. That's what they say. I'm like, 10 years, it took y'all 10 years to come get me? I mean, hey, I don't know. I mean, why would it take you 10 years? I mean, you act like I'm running a multi-billion-dollar corporation of drug smuggling or drug participation. This kid that got jammed up, I guess, in Missouri, and I guess it's like, well, you know anybody or whatever? I guess he's like, I know Michael Nunn, and the feds allegedly had this investigation going on with Michael Nunn, so they used him as an informant to set me up, and that's what it was, you know what I'm saying? And he gave me the dope, and I gave him the money and said, I'll give you the rest of the money later or whatever. And when I go outside, you got the police out there waiting on me. So he orchestrated the whole demonstration.
Okay, because the way I read it was that you bought a kilo of cocaine for $200.
No.
Back then, kilos were going for what? 17, 20,000?
17 to 20,000 at that time.
Right. So $200.
Exactly.
You can't even get a dime back,
Exactly.
For that
and
much.
Like I said, the deal was done with him. There was never no undercover agent. He was an undercover agent. He's working with the feds to conspire against Michael Nunn to get me jammed up in the conspiracy. He had the drugs. It was me and him in the room. There was the FBI outside. When I go outside, they outside waiting in the hallway with me. You know what I'm saying? I mean, waiting to arrest me, but I mean, the informant was him.
Well, at this point, the case is done. You've done your time.
Yeah.
So, let's talk about what actually happened. Number one, were you doing cocaine during that time?
Well, was I dealing cocaine?
No, were you using cocaine?
No, I never used cocaine a day in my life. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And that's one thing the feds even know. They like, well, one thing about it, he was smart because, I was hustling. I was never, I'm no drug user. I got no drug usage from a fighting career, from nothing. I mean, I've been done fighting for 20 years. I mean, I wouldn't do it today. You know what I'm saying? It was unfortunately, I got, hooked up with some people when we started hustling, and, next thing you know, I'm selling dope. But like I said, I was never a drug user, no.
I mean, look, I've been guilty of the same thing. When I was in my 20s, I bought a kilo of cocaine, and the guy that I bought it from ripped me off. And, we all do stupid stuff.
We all do stupid stuff.
I'm no way, like I said, I was just as dumb doing stuff that I didn't need to do, even though I had money.
I was super stupid. You know what I'm saying? At once upon a time,
But you had made millions of dollars from boxing at that point. What gave you the idea to start selling cocaine on the side?
Well, I had some cousins and stuff. They was hustling, and next thing you know, I'm in the mix with them, and things just started, transpire. I mean, you start getting money and just fuck the world, like Pac said. But, you just have a tendency to get lost, you know what I'm saying, when you get off your path, you know what I'm saying? But there was never no use to be using drugs. I sold drugs, and I tell people that. I said, I never used drugs, I sold drugs, And that's not glorifying or trying to be somebody that I'm not. It's just the truth, And one thing about truth, it needs no support, no alibi. There's no drug. They ain't never took no test and say it's cocaine or heroin or meth or fentanyl in your system. Never in life. You can't get a record nowhere on the feds will tell you that. They're like, well, he was sharp. He sold it. He got his money like that. I wasn't trying to be a user or none of that. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not glorifying that.
So you would buy kilos and then what?
Yeah. Break them down and we sell them
to other guys?
Yeah, break them down and, I had a line going, you know what I'm saying, in my city, you know what I'm saying, once upon a time.
Yeah. How many deals did you do by the time you got caught in that one deal?
Now that it's so uncountable, you know what I'm saying? The number was so high, so impeccable.
So you had been doing it for a while?
Been doing it, they said 10 years, so I mean, that's what the feds said.
Well,
so.
your co-defendant, the guy who snitched on you, said that you were doing this since 1993.
Yeah. Well, he didn't even know me in 93, but that's what he said, you know what I'm saying? He didn't look at, that guy didn't even know me in 93, you know what I'm saying? But that's what he said, you know what I'm saying? The feds, they said about a 10-year, they said a 10-year run. That's what they said. And, that's what they say. Hey, I went to jail for it, so I mean, hey,
Well, you said it was a mistake, and there's no one to blame but myself. I was raised right, both at home and through my boxing career, but that doesn't stop me from making silly mistakes in my life.
I made some dumb mistakes, and like I say, when I went to jail, Vlad, I could have told on a gang of people, that they wanted it or whatever, and I'm like, hey, Them people ain't done that. Whatever I done, I done. I went to the federal penitentiary, done 16 months. 16 years, 6 months on my own. I didn't do it with no help with nobody other than my family and my supporters. But I'm saying I ain't gonna go to jail. I'm telling nobody. Whatever I was doing when I was getting my money, doing what I'm doing, I wasn't telling them. So why would I tell? Because I get jammed up.
Yeah, I remember when I got ripped off for the kilo of cocaine, and I spent $17,000. I gave this guy $17,000.
Okay.
And then he claimed the cocaine was fake, and he was going.
But it's always some drama.
There's always, I mean, I was
that's just part of the game.
He knew that I wouldn't. I had no repercussions. There's no repercussions from doing that.
There you go.
And
So
I remember
got away
for
with
years
it.
and years, I was mad about it, even when that amount of money didn't matter.
I never had nobody take nothing from me. No money, no drugs, none of that.
Yeah. So this guy stole from me, and I was a little salty about it. And I remember when I interviewed Freeway Ricky Ross.
My dear friend, I know Rick.
Oh, you know Ricky?
Yeah,
Okay.
Rick's my man.
You know exactly
no
who
doubt.
it is.
Yeah.
And I remember I told him that story for the first time publicly.
Yeah.
And he said, well, Vlad, you do know that if he didn't rip you off, you would have probably ended up in prison. And then the light bulb just went off in my head. I said, oh, I'm not mad about this anymore.
No, well, once put things in respect, because when people take something from you, especially in the drug world, you gotta retaliate. Exactly. And I mean, it's like say, you gotta go back, you gotta shoot this dude, you gotta stab him, you gotta do whatever, you gotta do something, because when you're selling drugs and people figuring like, well, man, I got such and such from dude, and he ain't doing that. Right. So you become a sucker. You know what I'm saying? Guys come around your way, want to jack you, want to take stuff, and it puts you in a real messed up disposition, because you don't want to have to be forced to hurt nobody, because that's what's going to end up happening if you keep losing your money.
Well, you said no one ever robbed you while you were,
no,
drugs,
never.
You do get in bad situations along the way.
There's times.
What do you think was the worst? I mean, up until the time you got busted, what do you think was the worst situation in terms of your drug dealing that you got into?
I really didn't have too many bad situations. I'm glad to be honest with other than Mark Lou setting me up. I really didn't, because when I gave people stuff, I'd be out of town sometime and just, hey, drop the money off, man. You know what I'm saying? I'd be way in Las Vegas, LA somewhere. They back in hour doing whatever doing. And the people I had with me, they were some solid dudes, and they knew by the time you get back, just give them the money. You know what I'm saying? Because we don't want the problem. I mean, they working, and like I said, if I tell you to give somebody something, I want to, just get the money back. Let's not have no misunderstanding. Let's not do that. Because when you got it, we give it to you, so just bring the money back, brother. I don't want to be put myself in harm's way, to have to go pull a pistol or do something or shoot somebody to get $20,000 or $30,000, whatever the case may be. It's not worth it.
Well, yeah, I mean, but the bigger problem is, you got all these guys who are selling drugs who have aliases. You don't know their real name. You don't know who they are.
Right.
You're world champion Michael Nunn.
Right.
So just being who you are, that's going to put you on the radar of police,
definitely do that,
because
yeah.
you're a big fish at this
right.
point.
Oh, big fish.
One thing to bust some guy no one's ever heard of.
Right.
To bust world champion Michael Nunn for buying a kilo,
right?
That's a whole.
That's major
story.
news, man.
That's major news. People make their careers off of it.
They do.
In terms of prosecutors.
Oh, definitely the prosecutor. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he tried to make a big name for himself. Like I told him, I was bigger than him before I went to jail, and I'll be bigger than him when I get out. But that's the things you have to deal with.